With the conclusion of The Witcher Season 3, I thought it would be a good time to do a video to put a rest to my Witcher obsession. I have read the books, played the games, and watched the various shows around The Witcher, and instead of making separate videos on all of the mediums, I thought I could do one video ranking all of them together as an ultimate ranking so I can make one video and not have to ever touch it again. Now, it seems like Netflix is still debating if they will continue the show without Henry Cavill, but even if they do, I will most likely not be watching because the only reason I got into The Witcher was because of Henry Cavill. There are also a few video games announced, but it will probably be a while before those come to fruition, and frankly, I'm not excited enough about those games to justify delaying this video, but I will most likely play one or two of them when they do come out. Now, here is 3 things to know before the ranking starts. Number 1, any form of content that I have seen or played is on here, including Netflix, video games, books, and other screen adaptations. The next thing to know is that it's best to know that my first exposure to the Witcher universe was the Netflix show, then the video games, then the books. So that will definitely alter how I perceive some of these content mediums. Third is a fair warning that some of my opinions are far from the popular opinion. There is quite a bit of content on here that I simply did not enjoy, but the stuff I did like, I really liked. So that pushed me through to continue with my Witcher obsession. All right, let's get this list started. In number 18, which is last place, is The Witcher Blood Origin, the Netflix prequel. A theme throughout this ranking you will see is that The Witcher is at its best when it's about The Witcher. Geralt of Rivia, that is. And this here is a perfect example of The Witcher without The Witcher, and it's horrible. It would just be better if this was never released. Coming in at number 17, the Gwent mobile game. Now, I love Gwent, that is Gwent in The Witcher 3, but this is quite different. I have played through the tutorial at least 3 different times, and I just do not understand how to play this game. I thought it would be a fun game to have on my phone as a mobile game, but I just never got interested in it. Now here with number 16 is where we get to more of my controversial opinions, with the 4th book of the main storyline, The Tower of the Swallow. As I said earlier, The Witcher is at its best when it's about The Witcher, and Geralt of Rivia is hardly in this story. The whole story follows Ciri's recovery and retelling how she got injured, which seems like an interesting way to catch up the audience until you figure out that that is the entire book, and there's no sense of stakes or urgency because you know that Ciri is already recovering. The storyline is also really degenerate and not even enjoyable or fun to read, so this book stays about 200 pages past its welcome and needed way more Geralt. Also, a side note, I would like for everyone that says Netflix ruined The Witcher because they deviated from the source material to read this book and then see if you would want a whole season of Ciri being a prisoner and having Geralt in one episode, because that's what would happen if Netflix would flawlessly adapt this book. Number 15. Blood of Elves. This was the book that started the main Witcher storyline, and I immediately wished we could return to the short stories. The entire book was talking and setting up a lot of political relations, and right now I will share a complaint with the book series as a whole. It is insane that the author never put a map in any of the books. The political side of the storyline is impossible to follow because they throw out hundreds of names that you are never able to remember or understand what their importance is or where their geographic location is. It's pretty much a requirement to look stuff up on a wiki page just to get a full understanding of the story. Outside of that, the entire second half of the book is just Ciri and Yennefer, and their conversations just turn into chit-chat, and once again, the book stays about 100 pages past its welcome. Number 14 is the grand finale book, The Lady of the Lake. Now, this book did have stuff I really liked in it, namely the ending of the whole story was very unique, and the attack on Vigilfort's castle had really good action. Outside of that, this book was hard to get through. I was ready for the multiverse, teleportation, time travel, and all that because of the video games, so it didn't surprise me, but I still think it's really stupid. After 7 books of overbuilding the Witcher world, Ciri can just travel to any world, kinda dumb. Also, once again, this book is pretty degenerate. It's just disgusting to read when you think about Ciri's age and how much detail the author decided to put into mostly pointless areas of the story, so that is just very off-putting to read. Starting with number 13, we are now getting into the Witcher Netflix series, and I have all 3 seasons ranked right next to each other because my opinion of all these seasons are pretty similar. I think with all 3 seasons, they could have made the episodes 20 to 30 minutes shorter, then actually make the Witcher the main character, and this show would have been so much better. They also needed more side quests where Geralt just goes out to kill a monster because he needs money. A show of just that would have been so much more interesting than what we got. Instead, it's once again a political drama with no map. So you are just confused and bored for 4 40 minutes of every episode. Now, something the show did well with was the soundtrack and score. I like that in all 3 seasons, and also the action. I truly only watched this for Henry Cavill action scenes, which is why I put season 1 last. Outside the first episode in the Striga fight, there really isn't a whole lot of Witcher action in this season. For number 12, I put Netflix season 3, and this season tried to correct from season 2 by going back to the book plot, and I do appreciate that they managed to get all the way through the Blood of the Elves plot in about 2 episodes. Then from there they moved on to the Time of Contempt plot, and even started a little bit of the Baptism of Fire by the end of it, which is kind of funny because people are still mad that Henry isn't a main character, and the truth is they adapted the books pretty well in this season. The problem is that Geralt isn't a main character in the storyline as much as people think he is, and the stuff Netflix does add, it's horrendous. But the action is great in this season. The 5th episode at the banquet is very well done, and Geralt gets to wear a suit, so that's always a win. And then coming in at number 11, but first for the Netflix seasons, is going to be the season 2. Now, this is by far the least book accurate season and the most Netflixy, if you will. However, the first episode is my favorite out of all 3 seasons, and there are enough Geralt fight scenes to keep me interested. I actually don't mind that they didn't stick with the books, because at least it was something new. It had a cool finale at Kaer Morhen, and Vesemir was a fun character to add to the storyline. His actor did great with the character, so that's a good season to me. Finally, we are done with the Netflix series and on to the top 10, starting with The Time of Contempt, the second book in the main storyline. This was the main plot of The Witcher Season 3, as I just mentioned, but the book does it better. The memorable part of this book was the banquet, and there are just a lot more moving parts, and you don't have to see the Redanian side of the storyline like the way they put it in the show for some reason. Geralt gets some good action at the banquet, and it's written in a cool way. Number 9 is the first Witcher video game. Now, I have only played the Enhanced Edition, and it was a lot of fun. I played once without reading the books and once after I read the books, and some aspects of the game are really fun and memorable. For instance, the size of the world is huge for the era of this game, and there are tons of side quests. But on the other hand, the fine details of the storyline are so confusing, like the parts with Alvin and the Grand Master. They don't even bother explaining a lot of it. I went online to see if I missed anything, and everyone there was just as confused as me. Also, the action gets really repetitive, and it's turn-based action, so you can't speed through the game at all. Siegfried was also a homie. Love that guy. At number 8 is Witcher Nightmare of the Werewolf, the Witcher anime, and I will use the word anime lightly for this one. This is a good movie to watch if you just want to see some good old Witcher action. Vesemir is a Chad, and the whole ending of the movie is just chaos. The only thing I don't like is that I'm just not a huge fan of anime and the animation style that comes with it, but on the other hand, this is fun to watch. And number 7 is The Hexer. Now, this is the 2001 Polish TV show that you can find on YouTube with subtitles. Now, this pick is definitely an acquired taste. The graphics are really bad, and it's a very rushed story with the entire show clocking in at just over 2 hours. However, this tells the story of the first 2 Witcher books very faithfully, and the changes that are made to it are done to simplify the story a little bit. Geralt in the story actually had some great action scenes despite the dated graphics, and it tells the story way more coherently than the Netflix show. Also, Geralt has this lizard outfit that he gets to wear, and it looks amazing. Number 6, Season of Storms, the prequel book. After the mostly off-putting 5-book storyline, I was debating if I should even read this one, but I buckled down and decided to get through it, and I am so glad that I did. It goes back to doing more side quest type stories, and it brings Geralt back as the main character. The story of Geralt on the boat that is haunted by the Aguera fox monster was phenomenal. I definitely recommend this book even if you haven't read the 5 main book plotline. Actually, I'd recommend this book over the 5 of those books, but maybe that's just me. With the top 5, we are going back to the video games with The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. And this deserves a top 5 position just for introducing us to the greatest character ever, Roach. Or shall I say, Broach. Fuck! You get to use throwing knives and other non-sword weapons. There's even some sneaking around in some missions. Also, it's very replayable because half of the story changes depending on who you side with, so you can play this game twice and have a totally different experience both times. In fourth is the third book in the main storyline, Baptism of Fire. I love the ensemble cast in this book. Geralt was the main character, but he had a whole crew of likable characters surrounding him, making it more interesting. The funny thing is, you could probably skip this book and still understand the main storyline, because in terms of plot, not a whole lot happens here. It's just an extra long story of Geralt and his crew traveling and back traveling through the war-torn woods. But I like that it's so disconnected, and the story of how Geralt got of Rivia attached to his name was a great way to end the book. In third place is The Last Witch. This here is peak Witcher content as the first Witcher book ever made. It's a collection of stories that are all individually amazing. The stories are short enough to keep your interest, and there is very little of the political drama going on, and Geralt is the main character the entire time. It's simply amazing. And in second place goes the other collection of short stories, The Sword of Destiny. Repeat everything I just said about The Last Wish and put it here. However, this book contains my favorite short story with Geralt and Little Ciri in the Druid's Forest. I liked how it was told and the commentary around it. Just a great story. And in first place is easily Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. Was there ever any doubt? Gwent alone would put this in first place. This is simply one of the greatest games ever made. There is so much to do with the main story and side quests. Your actions here have consequences, the action is good, and I like how limited you are in upgrades. It's not like Skyrim where if you play long enough you just max out everything. Instead you have to choose what you want your Geralt to specialize in. The game has so much replayability, and it's an absolute blast from start to finish. And there are probably hundreds of videos made on this game, so if you have never played it, you just gotta check it out. And that is it with my ranking. Thank you for watching my extra long Witcher video, and let me know your opinions on this fantasy world down in the comments.
What are you doing? Killing monsters.